All right, when we start, we're going to come back with Dean Thomas in 3, 2, 1. Sitting down with the legend himself, Dean Thomas. Look at you all super fly.
I know. Do we ever think that this would happen? I never thought I would be in this situation with you.
It goes back to a hotel room in Orlando.
And you know what? And I remember, and I can never forget that because that was the very first time I did radio. Very first time.
Yep.
And now look at me. Yeah. Now look at me.
How comfortable is it for you now? Obviously, it's been years, that you've been doing a lot of this stuff, but you're on the desk, you're in the middle of fights, giving information. How cool is it, and how comfortable?
No, I'm very comfortable. I mean, I feel like this is where I should be. And it's crazy to me because I'm a quiet guy, but I get paid to have an opinion and talk, and it's just but I'm very comfortable doing that. I'm very comfortable telling people what I think.
Kenny Florian gave me crap back in the day because I didn't make picks. I didn't do, and he's like, you got to have some, basketballs and do all that stuff. Now that you're doing some of that, do any fighters get upset?
Sometimes, yeah, they get upset sometimes. But they have to understand it's not what I want. When I make a pick, I don't go, yeah, I want this guy to win. It's just when I look at the matchup, regardless of who it is, you might be my friend, you might be my brother. But when I look at the matchup, if I think you're going to win, I'll say it. If I don't think you're going to win, then I have to say that as well.
Has there ever been a time, and you don't have to say the name, but there's been a fighter that you might not have thought was going to win, but you would have never said, I'm picking against him. I don't think he's going to win.
No, if it gets that bad.
Because I have.
Yeah, I know, yeah. If it gets that bad, then I'll politic around it. I'll politic around it. But yeah, but I try to be as honest as I possibly can because I owe it to the people to be honest. I mean, this is what I get paid for. I get paid to have opinion and be honest, so I have to be honest.
Explain, and we are sitting chatting with Dean Thomas. It's been a couple months since we last spoke. How much goes into, the card that's coming up? How much work goes in? Because I don't think people realize the work that goes in to be prepared from almost any question that can be thrown your way.
I mean, we got to watch a lot of fights. It's so bad that I only watch fights when I'm preparing for cards. If I wasn't preparing for this card, I wouldn't watch it because I'm watching fights for a card that I'm preparing for. So I have to, and if I'm watching Israel Adesanya, I don't just watch one fight. I have to go back and watch a gang of them, and I have to do that for everybody on the card because I have to be prepared for you guys to ask me about anybody on the card.
Sure. Can you watch a fight as a fan not work?
No, I cannot. I can do it sometimes live.
Right.
That's the only time I can do it. But more often than not, I can't watch a fight on TV and not be thinking about the X's and O's.
I've told some fighters this, and I know this sounds strange, but if I'm going to watch it, to enjoy it as a fan, I'll look away for 10 seconds.
Yeah, you have to.
Because as a judge in the state of Florida and blah, 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 and I hate when people, I see them type in and, media people, and they're looking away, and then they're like, fighter A won. You didn't watch the whole fight.
Yeah.
How do you know who won?
Right.
So I will purposely look away just so I can say, hey, I didn't look at it as a judge. I just kind of enjoyed it.
You have to. I mean, you have to look away at times, and there's been a couple of fights where I think I enjoyed. I mean, it was obviously live where I was just feeling the energy of the crowd, and I was into it like that, where I was just like, all right, you know what? When I'm working on a broadcast team, I go, I'm not getting in on this fight. I'm just going to sit here and watch this fight as a fan.
You mentioned when we first started, could we ever have imagined sitting here doing this, you doing your job and me still being alive doing this job?
Yeah.
But you didn't have to laugh.
No, I'm just saying, you getting up there, you know what I'm saying? If I'm getting up there, you getting up there.
That's for sure. That's for sure.
I thought I'd be in jail right now, you know what I'm saying? You know how I be living in the streets.
And you thought I'd be under the ground by now.
Yeah.
But talk about, just the experience, the expo, how far that's come, how far the sport has come.
I mean, look at this. I mean, you look around, and I mean, this is just crazy. This is absolutely insane. And, we talk about combat sports, and we like to lump it all together, but MMA and the UFC is its own unique entity. It really is. You couldn't have an MMA expo and it looked like this. This is a UFC thing that is strictly unique to the UFC and the brand that the UFC has built. I went to a boxing press conference a few weeks ago, and the demographic of the people there was totally different from the demographic of people here and the way the fans are here and the way the fans treat the fighters. I mean, it's just totally different. Apples and oranges. So to lump the UFC in with everything else is a bit ridiculous, and you won't know it until you experience it.
And as you know, all the sports I've covered, and from day one, this has been my passion because of that, because of the athletes, because of how accessible they are and down to earth they are until they start training or until they're into the cage. So I totally get it.
Yeah, the athletes are accessible, but the fans are really they're really into it.
Yeah.
And it's almost I almost feel like it's almost like a Star Trek type of fandom.
Yeah.
And it's because they're so into it, and they're standing in line waiting to get autographs for hours. It's unbelievable.
Do fans still come up and ask you, do you train UFC?
No, you know what it is? I don't think fans think that I know how to fight.
Really?
I really do. I think I've separated myself so much from how I used to be that they think that I just like hang out with Dana White and and coach guys. I think that's what they think.
That's one of my biggest, I don't know what the word I'm looking for, dislike, is that all these new fans, which I love that we get all these new fans, but have no idea about yesterday. I was at an event a couple years ago, and two young kids, mid-20s, I tell this story all the time. They said, are there any UFC fighters here? I go, yeah, the dude's sitting right there. No, he goes, no, UFC fighters. I go, yeah, it's Sean Shirk. See the belt in front of him, right? It's like bashing heads.
Yeah, it's and I feel bad too because of the history. Like if you don't know your history, you feel bad for the old guys from that old generation because like they're not getting the love that they may deserve, and they done laid the bricks for all these new guys. So at least if the fans ain't going to respect them and recognize them, I think the fighters should at least do their history and recognize some of the old heads.
I'm getting dirty looks, so it's time for you to move down. But I know how to get in touch with you. We'll get you back on. We're going to hook you up with all the same stuff that we always do. We've got some 8-Man Strong for you. We've got some food, a new sponsor. It's called Right on Track.
That's what I'm talking about.
It's really cool stuff.
You know how to get to my heart.
And Odd Sock official, so we're going to let you take a pair now, but we're also going to send you a box.
I love it.
As always, Dean, great seeing you.
All right, my man. Thank you.
Talk to you soon, man. We'll be right back.